Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first quarterly wrap up of 2026. I am doing this a little later. I'm doing this after the first month of Q2 technically, but I still wanted to make the video and kind of have a video to look back on and see the progress that I'd made with my goals and my favorites throughout the year to maybe at the end of the year look back on these videos and see if my favorites are the same. I've seen other creators do videos like this and I just thought they were really fun and I wanted to do it. So I hope you stay for this video. The plan that I'm thinking is I'm going to do general breakdown of the stats, and then I guess I should mention that Daisy, my cat, is in my lap right now. So if you see my hand moving off camera or her moving, this is her. All right, jumping right into it. My reading goal for 2026 is 50 books. And so far, I have read 16 with one DNF in Q1. And in that 16 books, I have read 6 romances and 10 fantasies. This is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but one of my reading goals for this year was to prioritize fantasy books more so than just kind of general romance ones. In looking at that, I have succeeded in prioritizing fantasy over romance. Surprisingly, actually, it's not very surprising. My average book rating for Q1 is a 4-star, which doesn't actually really surprise me because I read some really good books in January and February, March too, but February just really held all of my favorite books really that I read so far, which makes sense because February is my birthday month and I very strategically picked and saved books that I wanted to read during that month so that that month could be the best reading month out of 2026. So a 4-star is pretty good. I initially, before doing the math, thought that it was going to be around a 3 because I've had some lower like 2-star ratings while also having quite a few 5 stars. So I'm pleasantly surprised that it is a 4-star. In terms of my 26 of 2026, my progress with that challenge, I have successfully read 10 out of 26 of my 26 of 2026, which is really good. That is a substantial amount of the books that I have read in Q1 have been on my 26 of 2026, which I'm so happy about because I've made so many 26s or 25s of 2025 and so on and so forth that I make at the beginning of the year. And then by the time the end of the year comes, I look back on the list and I'm like, I didn't even read that. It wasn't even like on my radar anymore. Like it completely left. And I'm really happy to see that I have stuck to it and these books still are on my radar. I'm reading them in a pace and in a timely manner that is within the time that they are still on my radar, because I hate looking back on my like goals like that and the books that I want to read and realizing that they just aren't speaking to me as much anymore, because I obviously still want to read them, but you want to read books when they're speaking to you the most. So I'm glad I'm doing that. Okay, in terms of my series tracker, I have started 6 new series. One of the goals for 2026 was to get caught up on series, but in Q1 I started 6 new series, which a lot of them are duologies or are duologies within a bigger series, like Heated Rivalry and The Long Game, and the first 2 Bridge Kingdom books. Those are, to me, considered duologies within a bigger series, so I kind of consider those to be duologies in their own sense. On a better note, of the 6 series, I am caught up in 4 of them as much as I can be, so it's just a waiting game now. It's not like they're just sitting on my shelf, which we're not going to talk about that because I also have a lot of series that are on my shelf that I have to continue, but not the point of this video. Series finished. I have completed 1 series. Hopefully, going into Q2 and further Qs in the year, I will be able to say that I have read or completed more series than I have started. And then my average for reading a month is about 5 books. I was in school for the first quarter of the year, so I am actually pretty proud of myself that I was able to pretty consistently read 5 books a month while being in school. And I hope to carry that through because right now my Fable, that little birdie, is very happy with me and I am ahead of my reading goal at the moment. And I'm hoping that if I keep this up, then I will be able to surpass my reading goal for this year. Next topic is going to be my top 5 favorites of the year and top 5 least favorites of the year. So I feel like we should start with the least favorites. Some of these might not be a surprise to some of you if you've watched my reading vlogs. We'll just start off from the one from January, and that was my first book of the year, being In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. This book was such a highly anticipated read for me. It was on my 26th of 2026. I saved it specifically to be my first book of the year because I had such high hopes for it, and it ended up being a 2.5 star, which isn't great. I was going to say it isn't bad, but it was pretty bad to me. I really didn't like our female main character all that much. I really loved Beg Borrow Steal in that series. It's the third book, and I really liked the kind of snippets and Easter eggs that we got for book 4, and I just had really high hopes for it, and ultimately it did not live up to the hype that I had set for it. I really liked the male main character, and that was really about it. He did lie to her and didn't really come clean about that, but she instantly forgave him. So anyway, next, Things Gods Break, which is the sequel to Games Gods Play. And I think I was just in kind of like a trials, like an overdone trials mood, because I just read Games Gods Play and then I went right into Things Gods Break. Despite reading them back to back, I was not as invested as I was in book 1. I'm not entirely sure what really kind of pulled me out of the story. Maybe it was wrong book, wrong time. Maybe that was the issue. Maybe I should have spaced it out. But I don't know. I don't really have a really specific reason why I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. Next, we have Psycho Beasts, which is the third book in the Psycho Shifters series by Jasmine Mass. And that book was also very highly anticipated for me. I loved book 1, I loved book 2, and then the third one came out, and within the first 60 pages, I very quickly realized that I was very detached from the characters, very detached from the plot and where we left off. That was how I felt at the beginning of the book, and then later on, the plot became an issue, and I just very quickly realized that I don't care. I wasn't invested. I didn't care. I wasn't enjoying it. And to be completely honest, all plot points felt unbelievably like forced and fake. It literally felt like reading not a scrapped project. It felt like somebody had thrown wet noodles at the wall and just like whatever stuck is what they went with. Like it didn't feel like a very well concluded ending. It was not good. I did not like it at all, which really sucks because I really liked the first 2 books in the series, and then the third book literally ruined the first 2 books for me. Like, I don't recommend that series any longer because of the third book. Okay, and finally, my least favorite book of Q1 and of 2026 so far is, in fact, Direbound by Sable Sorensen. I am not a fan of stupid female main characters. I've mentioned it before and I will mention it until the day I die. I find it so infuriating when a female character acts, well, stupidly. This book was a stupid main character with very, very slow plot progression, and I really hated how she treated everybody around her. I understand she had her own goals of trying to find and locate her sister who'd been kidnapped. She basically ends up getting bonded to a dire wolf, and they're meant to work together, they're meant to be one, and the female main character does everything possible to prevent that from happening and talks about the wolf so badly. She's quite frankly so unbelievably rude, and I just hated it. I really, really don't like it. That book is so highly talked about by so many creators that I watch and I love, and I'm really, really bummed that it just didn't hit the mark for me. I don't enjoy talking about that book because I don't have anything nice to say about it, and I've already talked about how little I like it on my channel a lot. So, moving on into my favorite books of 2026 so far, we have Hollow by the Twisted Sisters, and this book was so unbelievably phenomenal. I rated it a 4.5, and every single time I talk about it, I feel like I should have rated it a 5. The ending, there was like the tiniest little thing that it wasn't my favorite, but other than that, everything else was unbelievably perfect. It was incredible, it was fast paced, and that male main character, oh my god, is he ever flipping insane, and it's in the best way possible. He's insane, but he's insane for her, and it's just so fantastic watching them go from being enemies to reluctant allies to then lovers to then enemies again. And that ending was just like the stakes in book 1 were so high, and then you stack on the ending and it's like, how on earth can you make the stakes even higher? And they did it, and it was just so unbelievably well done, and I adore it so much, and I highly, highly recommend it. I'm going to say that about all of them. Next we have Revolve by Balcabra. This was a very big surprise to me, and this book was 100% right book, right time. It is figure skater and hockey player, and they have to become partners in a figure skating competition. And it was so impeccably well done. There was so much emotional depth to it. There was banter, and it was just both characters had their flaws, and oh my god, the male main character just loved the female main character. Her name is Sierra, exactly how she needed to in order to push through the PTSD and the anxiety that she had surrounding the ice. And it was just so unbelievably well done. It is my favorite in the Off the Ice series so far, and I just love it so much. And oh, it was just phenomenally well done. It was so well written. It was just I loved my reading experience reading it, and I'm so glad I picked it up when I did. And then next is Heated Rivalry and The Long Game. You can obviously tell that they're 2 books, but I'm kind of counting them as one. But that duology was, I still to this day cannot fathom how Rachel Reed was able to take and make these fictional characters. These people are not real. And she took and made these words on paper so unbelievably real and bring such realness to their lives and their struggles and their situation. And if you've watched the show, please read the books. The books are obviously so much deeper and they have so much more to them. And both the show and the books were unbelievably well done, but the books were just so heartbreaking, but also so comforting at the same time. It starts with them obviously being more friends with benefits, sneaking around, and then in the long game you see such intense progression with their characters and their lives as they've literally grown up with each other in the NHL, and it's just phenomenal. It's absolutely incredible, and you really, really need to pick it up. Finally, my favorite book of the year, probably my favorite book ever. If something tops this, I'm going to be so surprised, but that book is A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena. I have talked about this book extensively on my channel, but it is so unbelievably well done. It is beautiful. It has phenomenal disability representation. You're following Vasily, who was a dancer who gets framed for murder and thrown in jail by the king, and then the king pulls her out and tells her to whip herself back into shape and be the professional dancer that she once was because he needs her to be his spy. And due to Vasily's time in prison, she experienced very severe muscle deterioration. And because of that, she can no longer dance to the way that she once did. So she really has to fall in love with dance again and find her strength again. And oh my God, Vasily was just such a powerful female main character. And I just loved the strength that she got from dance. It was just impeccably well done and I love it. It was perfect. The story was so much of Vasily and her journey and finding her strength again, and there was kind of undertones of romance. Not really though, like it was so much about Vasily and Vasily's story, and it was just so unbelievably well done. And that cliffhanger at the end, I was just jaw on the floor. It was incredible. And I am so excited for that book. I'm so excited for book two. I believe it's a duology and I think it comes out in Q3. I don't know the exact date, but when that book comes out, I will be unavailable. I will be in my bed and I will be reading it. And you won't be able to reach me because I will be in that story. And oh my God, I cannot recommend those top five books enough. They are just unbelievably incredible. Okay, now moving into my anticipated Q2 reads. The top reads that I'm looking forward to are Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. I read One Golden Summer by her last summer, and it was my favorite book of either my favorite or my second favorite book of the entire year. And it was just so atmospheric and incredibly well done that I felt like I was living with the characters. And this book is, I believe it's set in BC. And I just really hope that Carly's writing and that atmospheric feeling follows all of the books that she writes. Next is Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. I just really love the concept of this book and I love Elsie Silver's writing. This one follows Emmett and I think it's Julia. It's Theo's sister from, what is it called? I can't remember, but like her main series, not Rose Hill, the one before that. And Emmett, who's like a friend somewhere, but it's set on a reality TV show and I've never read a book like that and I'm just really excited for it. Like I said, I really love the concept of it. Next, The Someday Garden by Ashley Poston. I read Sounds Like Love by her last summer and just like One Golden Summer, it was so atmospheric and just perfect. I loved it so much, and I've really come to love her mix of contemporary romance with magical realism. This one is like, I think she visits like an inn somewhere, and she finds this man who's locked in a room, but when she opens the door, I think it's like a garden. I think that's it. I go into books blind, so sorry if I don't have very extensive information about these books. Next is Lightwing, which is the sequel to Hollow. It was obviously a very, very well liked book by me, and just like the sequel to Dance of Lies, I will be unavailable and I will be reading that book because the stakes at the end of book one were simply so high that I need to know how it all like works itself out. Another book that's been really high on my radar recently has been Wicked Sea. I don't know what the author's name is, but I saw it at the bookstore and it just grabbed my attention so fiercely that I just needed it. And the concept of it, I think it's like a warlock and a mermaid, and I love mermaids, but I've never really read anything with them, and I want to change that. So I'm really excited to get to that book. It's on my, what month are we in? My May TBR. So hopefully I get to it this month. Finally, my goals going into Q2 are reading more general fiction novels and kind of lit fic novels. They've really just been speaking to me recently. I read some really good ones in April, and I've just found that a lot of them have kind of been speaking to me, and I want to read books that speak to me. So I'm really excited to kind of branch out more into that genre, and I'm hoping to find more reads and more authors that I have never read before or never encountered before. Like I just said, I want to read new authors. I read a lot of new authors to me in Q1, and I'm hoping to continue that into Q2 with the fiction novels, with fantasy, with romance, with all the genres that I read. I always love reading new voices and new authors and learning which authors really speak to me and their writing style. Also, I want to read more audiobooks because as summer very quickly approaches, my plans and my socializing really increases. That really takes away from my reading time at night. So, in order to combat that, my idea is that I'm going to try and read more audiobooks. And with all that being said, that is all of the stats, that is all the opinions, good and bad, and Q2 predictions and goals for today's video. I really liked making this video. I know it's more of kind of like a sit down chit chat video, and I really hope you guys like it. If you guys do, I'm going to continue making them for Q2, 3, and 4. I think it'll be fun to look back on them at the end of the year. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Oh, and I hope your next read is a 5-star. Bye!